China now. It has denounced the decision to impose restrictions on Chinese travellers because of the rising COVID infections and warned it might take reciprocal action. International health officials have criticised Beijing for failing to release data on the spread of the virus and possible new variants. The US and about a dozen other countries will require those arriving from China to produce negative test certificates. Many Chinese have been rushing to book their first overseas trips in years after Beijing lifted its own travel restrictions. Well, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson condemned the requirements on travellers.
We
are willing to strengthen communication with the international community and work hard together to overcome the epidemic. At the same time, we also believe that some countries have imposed entry restrictions targeting only Chinese travellers. This lacks scientific basis and some practices are unacceptable. We firmly oppose any attempts to manipulate epidemic prevention measures in order to achieve political goals. We will take countermeasures based on the principle of reciprocity.
Meanwhile, in the United States, concerns are increasing about a new highly contagious Omicron variant named XBB.1.5. The Centre for Disease Control and Prevention showed over 40% of COVID-19 cases were caused by the new strain. Epidemiologist Dr. Eric Feigl-Ding is on the COVID-19 Mortality Expert Committee for the World Health Organization, and he told me there is cause for concern with the new subvariant.
XBB.1.5 is the next big one. I think people have underappreciated. CDC, just disclosed it was 40%, but they had completely not disclosed that it's been surging for the prior 4 weeks. And XBB.1.5 is more evasive. It's the most evasive variant known to date. And unlike basic XBB, it is much better at infecting cells. Based on what we know. So it's, in many ways, it's the worst of both worlds. And if you look at the stats, wherever it's dominant, like in Northeast New England area of the US, it has, hospitalizations have surged. And it's also surging worldwide in other countries and been found in other countries, including in the UK, where it's growing rapidly as well. So this is the next big one. And I think without good genome surveillance, we would not have been aware that this is the new culprit. But this is, I think, the variant to keep an eye on.
Okay, do we have any idea, crucially, on how effective the vaccinations that we currently have are against this? For example, the hospitalization numbers, do we know how many of those are vaccinated or not?
Yeah, so this is the problem. First of all, to know the real-world efficacy, it takes time and enough numbers. And the other thing is, XBB.1.5 is not a regular Omicron. It is it's a recombinant crossbreed of two different lineages. And so, and these are lineages of BA2. And so, for example, the UK bivalent is a BA1 bivalent, while the US bivalent is a BA5 bivalent. So neither of them are actually going to be perfect. We're hopeful that it will work against hospitalization, but against in terms of infection, and again, infection leads to long COVID, we're very worried. And there's evidence that because it is so good at infecting with the human ACE2 receptors, that it could actually lead to worse long COVID because even low levels can cause huge amounts of problems.
Heartbreaking football game that any of us have ever seen. Right now, Buffalobills safety DamarHamlin remaining sedated in critical condition at a Cincinnati hospital. The 24-year-old collapsing during the first quarter of Monday Night Football and going into cardiac arrest on the field, needing his heartbeat to be restored by medical staff before being transported to a medical center. And just a few minutes ago, the Hamlin family releasing a statement through a close family friend saying that they will release updates on his condition when they have them, and that the generosity and compassion from across the country means the world to them. And joining me now is Buffalo News writer Jay Skirsky, who was at the game in Cincinnati last night, and Dr. Joseph Sekran, a trauma and critical care surgeon at Johns Hopkins. Jay Skirsky, you were there. I mean, we were all watching. This was a huge game. You were tweeting in the middle of the night about what you witnessed on the field in Cincinnati. We saw him collapse. Then the defibrillator mercifully being taken out so quickly. They have medical teams there at the ready, being ambulanced out. We saw the other players crying, the coaches praying. Tell us what it was like.
Covering the NFL for as long as I have, you get accustomed to seeing injuries, sometimes serious injuries, and the players themselves get accustomed to seeing it. The thing that made this so different for me was the reactions from the players. It was apparent immediately that this was something far more significant than a typical football-related injury, and it ended up being so much different. To see a world-class 24-year-old athlete having CPR performed on him in the middle of a football field was jarring for me. It was horrifying for me, quite frankly, and I think it was horrifying for everyone in that stadium. And I can't imagine the anguish that DamarHamlin's teammates, his family, his mother was at the game, rode with him to the hospital, what his coaches, what they were all feeling at that time.
Dr. Saccharin, can you give us a better idea of the kind of medical care that DamarHamlin is receiving today? Apparently his heart did stop and it was restarted with the defibrillator. And it's fortunate that they, I guess at all games, at all NFL games, they have a team of some 20 people. We often see the orthopedic teams coming out, sadly and tragically for these players, but this was far more serious.
Yeah, definitely far more serious, Andrea. And let me just say that our thoughts and prayers are with Damar, his family, and the entire Buffalo Bills organization. Look, what we saw last night, I think Jay summed it up beautifully. It was horrifying. And the healthcare professionals did what they're trained to do, which is they immediately responded in someone who had cardiac arrest with CPR, as well as what we understand, the AED, the defibrillator. It's hard. There's a lot of information that, of course, we don't know at this time. But that early response of providing that life-saving care is so critical. And we've heard that, before Damar left the field, that he had return of circulation, which is a very positive sign. And I think at this point, with everything that's happening at the University of Cincinnati, they're taking, extra measures to ensure that he's getting all the life-saving care that he needs to have the best prognostic opportunity.
We all deserve answers, and we all deserve a chance to heal from this dark chapter. It is time for George Santos and the Republicans who enabled him to do the right thing and allow that process to move forward.
New York free, Santos free. New York free, Santos.
As we wind up this interregnum between the two votes, we understand that it's very likely that Kevin McCarthy is going to try to push ahead. Talk about how many of these votes that can happen. I think the record was 133.
That's right. We are now, the answer to this question is, for the moment, no. We are now in territory we haven't been in 100 years. Let's just show you. This is the history here. These are 14 times before now. This is now the 15th time that a vote for House Speaker has not been settled on the first ballot and will now go to a second ballot. And yes, the record was set in 1855. Nathaniel Prentice Banks of Massachusetts was elected Speaker of the House on the 133rd ballot. So when McCarthy says he's willing to go for the record of number of votes, that would be the record, 133. The other thing to keep in mind here, the last time this happened at all, the last time we went to a second ballot, you got to go back right here. 100 years ago, 1923, Frederick Gillette, Massachusetts. Massachusetts. It took 9 ballots. That's the last time it was not settled on the first ballot. And as you're talking about, again, to the extent that this is a precedent, 100 years ago, what happened, what you're talking about happening now is what happened then. Gillette was a Republican. The rebels, the renegades in his party back then were actually from the left. They were progressive Republicans. They withheld their votes from him on that first ballot, and he and his allies immediately moved to a second ballot. Didn't get it on the second ballot. They went to a third, didn't get it, went to a fourth, didn't get it. That took them until late in the day, and at that point they made a motion to adjourn, and they finished up for the day. They tried again the next day. They failed a few more times. It took 3 days, and it took 9 ballots, but the last time we were in this territory, Gillette did end up winning. He granted enough concessions to those progressive Republicans to win. So the strategy back then certainly was what you're talking about now. Don't adjourn. This is what McCarthy people are talking about. Don't adjourn. Try to keep this going. Try to wear down these Republicans who did not vote for him on the first ballot. But again, looking at that, looking at the math, we did see all 212 Democrats vote for Jeffries. There were no renegade Democrats who voted present or cast a symbolic vote for someone else. All 212 were there. All 212 voted. So, that happening again here. The number of defections, this could be another, 218 magic number on this second ballot from McCarthy. And just looking at who defected, the key thing that jumps out at me is the Republicans who voted for Andy Biggs, because Biggs was the other person to put his name in nomination for Speaker. He opposed McCarthy when the Republican conference had a vote on who it was going to nominate for Speaker a few months ago. He opposed him then, got a couple dozen votes, and he put his name in nomination, had his name put in nomination before this vote on the floor today. And there were 10 Republicans who actually voted for Biggs. The rest of the defections from McCarthy, it was sort of a mishmash. Some were voting for Jim Jordan. So there were other names. One voted for Lee Zeldin, who's not even in the House anymore. But the 10 who were willing to vote for Andy Biggs, who has been made himself sort of the voice in the face of hardline opposition to McCarthy, does that indicate an intransigence on their part that might be a little bit more well established than with the other 9? And if he continues to have 10 defections, McCarthy just can't get the votes. He's going to have to get Biggs voters to his side, or at least voting present.